Let's talk about fiction in literature. What is literature, and how we understand fiction as a literature? Okay. So before that, we would like to talk about literature as a form of communication. It is a form, it's as a form of communication in the sense that because it has three different elements get involved. With that said, we have the author who writes the text, meaning a fiction or non-fiction or whatever he writes, and the reader, and who reads the text, and the text itself. Okay, so the reader will understand the text in a way based on the reader's own perceptions of looking at things around the world, and also the based on the words and the ideas put together in the text. Okay, so this is how the ideas get communicated with the reader when they read the text. So that's why the literature, fiction is a literature, non-fiction is a literature. Okay, so that can be, so literature can be considered as a form of communication. This is how they communicate, through text. And then when we talk about what fiction is, and then we tend to say that it's a make-believe story. Even if it's a make-believe story, it reflects the society, the people out there who live in the community, in the society, and the world outside. And then whatever the things are happening in this world have been reflected, or maybe with the imagination, sometimes the author use the and predict the future. Okay, so there are so many different kinds of fictions as well. Even within the fiction, we have science fiction, adult fictions, romance, uh, fictions. So that's why the but generally it is defined as a make believe story. It's invented stories. And then fiction can be short, like stories, could be fables, could be vignettes, or plays and novellas, which is shorter than the novels, and novels themselves. So when we talk about elements of fictions, it has the fiction does have a characters, people, the there, and then the setting, that the place and time, and the plot, how it the builds on the story. And there's conflicting ideas, the conflict point of view, whether that is a first person point of view, which is the author uses I, and then writes and narrates a story, or maybe he, she, or they, or you, the second person narrative. And then the theme, these are the elements of a fiction. Okay, and then when we talk about the voice in fiction as in real life, we listen carefully for voices, because voices is voice is very important in fictions. Each and every character does have their own distinctive voice. The sometimes the narrator does have its own voice as well, but based on how the what you call the characters speak, their demeanor, their behavior is always is determined by their voice as well. So when we think of the difference between Hemingway narrative and a Faulkner one, Hemingway's prose is lean and stripped down, whereas Faulkner is intricately and richly embellished. Okay, so characters are also clearly have distinctive voices, as I just said, because they have that establish the personality, attitude, and dispositions. So when you all the characters do have the similar voices, it's not gonna interest the reader to read the story as well, because each and every individual does have their own distinctive voice, their distinctive personality and attitude, and that must be reflected in the story or fictions that you write. Okay, think of Huck Finn or Holden Caulfield, Mole Flanders. Those are the characters. A character's voice can be apparent in both thought and speech, and speech in fiction as in real life clues us into a character's take on self, others, and the world at large. So similarly, talking about voice in fictions, these are the things play a crucial role. For example, the sentence rhythms and patterns, word choices, what kind of word the author uses or the characters use, the syntax, the way they speak, that create a voice, and also their attitude towards people and places and situation, how they view it. And again, especially fictional voice consists of both the basic authorial voice and the occasional or contextual voice, which depends on the particular story elements. So voice is the humanity behind the words that connects the reader to the character on a personal level. Johan Campbell Slan, says that because it is your distinctive voice that basically helps the reader understand who you are, even without looking at you, just by listening to your voice, listening to what you say and how you say, they can find out who that character is. Okay, so that much the distinctive you should be. And now going back to tone, mood, and style, that are what we call the feel of fiction. The feel of a story or a scene is primarily achieved through the three elements: tone, mood, and style. So tone is fiction's, tone is the fiction's attitude of the, that is the person's attitude of the narrators, or the viewpoint character towards story events and other characters. So basically tone is again achieved through the word choice, dictions, what kind of word that you use, the sentence structure, word order, which is what we call a syntax, and the viewpoint as well. So talking about style, we would like to know that this style is defined in terms of how the author writer uses the words to create not only the events of story but their feel as well. Now, each and every author does have their own style of writing, and again the style of writing is created by the way you use words, the sentence structure, things like that. It is the linguist Peter Vernock tells that style is a distinctive linguistic expressions. There are other different style choices as well, because using the definite article, the for every noun, or never using it, writing long in bold complex sentences, or not including euphemism in places of bold crosswords, having a character crossing every other line or word. These are the style. I mean, some characters do not want to use crosswords, and they rather use euphemisms. It depends. Those are each and every author that, does have their own style of writing as well. Okay, so these are the things. Some of the the style, they can use alliteration, onomatopoeia, rhyme and assonance. Other typically use poetic techniques. Some of them use a lot of descriptions, some of them don't. Some of them tend to use a lot of dialogue and action and descriptions. These are sort of the styles that you use in your writing. So what kind of style you use and what kind of style might grab the reader's attention is also one of the important things that you might want to acknowledge. Okay, so that's it. So you might want to add a few more other ideas talking about tone and style and voice and fictions. So drop your comments and let's have a wonderful discussion here. All right, thank you.